Yeah, what's good, Josh? Your man, the Bigga P, and here to bring you my thoughts on the three fights from this past weekend. Well, technically, I'll do five, but I'll do it briefly. The first card was the Showtime International card. First of all, congrats to Maurice Hooker, who upsetted Terry Flanagan by a split decision to become the new WBO 140 champion. The fight itself was hard to watch because Flanagan was pretty rough and dirty from jump, and Hooker showed an improvement from the last time I saw him, which is against Perez, and that was the fight. I thought he lost. It was a draw in a fight. I thought he lost that clear, for that matter. And I wasn't high on Hooker going into this fight. I hadn't seen him since, and that was like a couple years ago. Um, he definitely was a lot more steady. He was a lot more steady on his feet, and then his right hand was landing more regularly than Flanagan's wild shots. Although Flanagan, like once a butt opened him up over the butt, he himself opened up, and he was catching Hooker. I mean, he had Hooker in trouble in some of those rounds, brief trouble as it is. But I did feel that Hooker, kept his poise and was able to, I think, clearly win the last two rounds. So yeah, the fight was close. I think the scores. I think the last score was the one I didn't really agree with all that much. It was a 115, 113, 115, 114 type of fight. I think I had it 115, 114, and I think one of them had the score like 117, 111 for Hooker, which I thought was a little bit too wide because the fight was a little as hard as it was to watch. It was also hard to score. But Hooker won the fight, and congrats to him. And now I think I read this morning when I woke up, he's actually going to enter the World Boxing Super Series tournament for 140. That's going to happen. Hopefully, I think starting sometime this year, and that's great. So that means now there's like three champions in that 140 tournament. So I guess we'll look forward to seeing that. Flanagan, uh, I don't know what he was doing, if he even had a plan other than to try to rough the kid up, but. Yeah, but he didn't fight well. His game plan, whatever it was, wasn't executed well. And then the headbutting and stuff cut him open. So first loss, it is what it is. Guess he'll have to make a comeback. I mean, if he wants to, he can try to enter the 140 World Boxing Super Series tournament. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a shot at one of the champions in there. Um, and then the main event was Tyson Fury versus you know what? I'm not even gonna call him by his actual name. I'm gonna call him Jobber, because that's what he was. Fury, it is bar none probably one of the worst fights I had ever seen. Fury, to his credit, Fury came in at 274. Considering that he was like almost 400 or whatever, I guess that's an accomplishment. He still looked pretty out of shape. Usually, I guess the Fury that actually looks like he can actually be something and be a top fighter. He's usually like he's actually gone below 250, which I can't even believe. He's been between the 240 and 255 is usually optimal Fury. So weight wise, at least he won. The 274 is usually the fights in between the top level fights where he actually comes in a little sloppy. And then his trunks were way high up there. So yeah, props for him getting back into the ring. But he should have picked a better opponent. He picked a 39-year-old cruiserweight, with an interesting record, and then you look at his one loss, and then he lost a decision to Manuel Shar, a decision. So that I think that told me there was probably nothing more to him than that. Yeah, I was still hoping that maybe this cruiserweight with this punch with this KO record would at least attempt to at least try to pull a Steve Cunningham and actually maybe rock Fury. Instead, he was more interested in walking around, posing, making faces, doing some absolute horseshit. There were fights in the stands that were far more engaging than this actual fight. Fury didn't do much either. Fury, he hammed it up a little bit. He landed some punches here and there. Nothing for me to actually say, okay, Fury is back, or Fury needs, or Fury can go off the shot. If I had to really judge Fury or not, I'd say either Wilder or Joshua will knock him out easy. Because he looked obviously rusty because he had not fought since he actually won those belts from Vladimir Klitschko like almost 3 years ago. So it's Yeah, what Fury needs is another fight like next month. Like this fight was it was a no contest, and then Jobber's corner like pulled him out, and like he barely got touched. I mean, it was more like literally he was going in there, he would move forward and then like hold or hug. It was a disgraceful performance, and Fury didn't get any work in. It was just a simple TKO, and the corner pretty much throwing the flag before Fury can decide, okay, let me try to hit him up, let me punch him a little bit more. So nothing more to say. It was a terrible fight. Fury needs to fight like next month, and hopefully he finds a heavyweight, not a cruiserweight. But if you're gonna fight a low-level fighter to get your confidence back up, to get some work in, find a heavyweight fighter, someone who's an actual heavyweight. So it takes us to the only big fight I actually watched live, and that was Terrence Crawford versus Jeff Horn. I didn't watch the whole card. I did sign up for ESPN Plus, which, by the way, I actually really do like. I mean, I was a little hesitant at first. I wasn't because I already pay for a couple of services. I mean, I have Netflix and everything like that. I was just like, do I really want to pay $4.99 a month for ESPN Plus? Wasn't really interested. So the plan was, to do what everyone else has pretty much been doing: sign up 7 days, cancel it the next day. Because last night I was at a party, so I wasn't able to watch. I was originally going to stream it through my Roku and everything, but I couldn't watch it. So I was at the party. I was just pretty much waiting to the main event, and I usually like to watch the whole card, but I just couldn't do it because I was at a party. However, late in the party when I was feeling good, I was able to sneak away, got my phone out, and I was able to log into ESPN Plus, and it was clear. Like I didn't have no problems, no lag, no difference in no pixelation. I mean, it was crystal clear, and I was able to see the fight. Basically, the fight pretty much went how everyone said it was going to go. Crawford, 4 rounds, just trying to see what Horn had. Horn was doing nothing. He tried to do the bully shit early, and Crawford was able just to bully him back. And then pretty much once he got past those 4 rounds, then it was just a slow, steady beating. I think it was just one other round. I think it was 7th to 8th. He almost knocked him down, and then in the actual round of the stoppage, he actually put him down. It was like a flash. And then after that, Crawford was just starting to tee off, and the ref stopped it. The only surprise in that whole fight was the fact that Horn did not bleed for once. Kudos. It was a massive performance by Crawford. This is like I said. Crawford is one of my favorite fighters to watch because he's mean. Like, there's not enough fighters, I think, that fight mean. Like, they fight with heart or whatever, but they fight mean. Like, they actually want to put somebody away. That's Crawford, and on top of that, he's skilled. He can fight both stances. He has a boxing brain. He has good, he has above-average hand speed. And Horn just had nothing for him. All Horn had was his size, which, by the way, he's not a welter anymore. I'm sorry. He took 3 tries to make this weight. He's not a welterweight. This is like literally every fight he's struggling to make this weight. He should go to 154 and probably make it a lot easier on his body. But I think doing that he probably wouldn't last too long in that division, depending on who he's facing. Crawford was just a mess. It was a beautiful performance, and then he takes the WBO welterweight title, and. My scenario is I would hope that Aaron would actually realize, okay, you got to put him in front of some heavy hitters, not just put him through the top ranked stable. I mean, the biggest fight for welter for him would be the winner of Manny Pacquiao and Lucas Matisse, depending on whether or not that WBA belt becomes a super belt, because Keith is out there not fighting, and you're gonna give up the WBC one. That would probably be the biggest fight, and I don't know if Pacquiao, as much as I admire him, think he's an all-time great, he wants to get in the ring with him, because that would probably be the end of his career. That would probably be the end. But then, like I said, that's probably a long shot scenario. So, but regardless, man, it's time for Crawford. He's a welterweight. He's in a division where there's other prime fighters like him. And this is why my thing is, welterweight division needs this prime fight. Needs to have people, needs fights to get in the mix. Champions need to fight champions to see who is the champion, and that's just how I feel. Great. Win as I expected. Crawford, became welterweight champion for WBO, and Horn, I will probably just go rebuild in Australia. I mean, and that's the way I see it. I mean, he's not a very marketable fighter outside of it. Um, but he has Pacquiao and Crawford notoriety, so we'll see how it goes. Um, and then the Showtime card I just watched this morning. So I had to miss, unfortunately. I didn't want to stream that on my phone. There wasn't really a service for it. Actually, there is. I am lying. But it was happening, but I wanted to see Crawford-Horn more than I wanted to see the PBC Showtime card. My thoughts on both fights is they were okay. Charlo versus Austin Trout. Um, I have to say I was a little disappointed with Jamel. I mean, for the first half of the fight, Trout was pretty competitive. He was able to. I mean, Charlo wasn't jabbing like he should have, and he let Trout set the pace, and he actually let him to get his combos off, to get his lead shots, and especially I was a little surprised to see him landing a lead uppercut on Charlo. There was that little cuff knockdown in the third or fourth round, and that's fine. But I felt like Trout was hanging in there. But the second half of the fight, I think Trout was starting. I think this is where the legs started to go a little bit, and I think Charlo scored a knockdown in the ninth round. It wasn't back there. I think it was just real high up in the head, and it was just Trout was a little bit off balance on his own accord, so that caused a knockdown. And then in the and then the 10th round, I think he was almost taking off a Trout at will. But Trout, he's a veteran. He's a former champion. He hung in there tough in the last couple of rounds. But what was some bullshit though was a majority decision. I don't know what that one judge saw to score the fight a 113-113 draw, especially when Charlo scored 2 knockdowns. I mean, that would probably mean that Trout was winning the fight on his card, and then those knockdowns evening up, which absolutely is horseshit. That's just absolute. That's terrible scoring, man. So I don't know what the judges, but the other scores were pretty. Were on the mark. Charlo, his performance wasn't that good. It was okay for Trout. I mean, his brother also himself struggled with Trout. I mean, damn near Trout boxed him to a standstill in my opinion, that one. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to see a little bit more. I mean, I think there's a couple. Charlo's gonna have to realize, yes, you've been knocking some people up, but you got to work behind your right hand. You got to throw some jabs. You got to start jabbing. You can't just follow someone around and not jab. Not everyone can fight like Hurd, or you do what he does. He's a better fighter than that. So we'll see. I mean, the crowd wasn't really into it. They were booing. It was a decent fight. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't a stinker. It wasn't like I was watching Fury the Jobber fight. There was far more entertaining than that. But I guess when you find in California, if you ever been to a fight in California, I have myself. There's a certain audience that just really wants to see some action. And which brings me into the main event, which was the rematch that no one wanted. Leo Santa Cruz versus Abner Mares. Both of them have their variations of the WBA featherweight title. I think Leo was super, Mares is regular, and I didn't see anything different from the first fight, except both of them boxed more. Because in the first fight, Leo was fighting more one-dimensional, and Mares was fighting more shell-shock to me. And I think that led to more frenetic pace than the second fight. The second fight, you can actually see both of them trying to box more. You can see them slowing down their pace, although they still throw almost 2,000 punches in the fight. But it was not the war that the commentators were trying to say it was. It was not a war. Valdez Quick, that was a war. Hurd versus Laura, that was a war. Because I was like, all 4 of these fighters need to go to the hospital afterwards because it was grueling. This one, it was a highly competitive fight. It was just a little adjustments. Whereas in the middle rounds, when LSC started jabbing more and started really throwing the right hands, but he was really stifling Mars' offense, and Mars couldn't make an adjustment to get by there. And on top of that, he was getting caught with the counter left hook, and Mars' head was getting snapped all the way the fuck back at times. It was just a style. I think it's just a style clash. I mean, everyone has those fighters that just can't beat, and LSC and Mars, I think just LSC's intangibles and his height, and his reach, it's just. And Mars has beaten some good fighters, but I think that type of fighter he'll never beat. So I mean, this time it was not a majority decision, but it was a unanimous decision for LSC, and he deserved it. It was not. It was a good fight. It was a very good fight. But I don't. It wasn't the war or not even really a fight of the year candidate to me. Although it didn't lack for action, the crowd was clearly into it. For LSC, of course, now he wants to fight Gary Russell, and I'm all for it. Unify those belts. Gary's worn out. Gary's there. We can't have Gary fighting once a year anymore. He's too talented for that. We need to get him in the ring about 4 months, 5 months at least. No, actually, no. 5 months, that's November. Get him in the ring by like mid-September or something like that. Mid-December, 1st of August at the latest. And let's get this popping. And I know LSC wants the rematch from the amateur days. And it's a fight that can happen. It's a money fight. So let's make it happen. Mares, like I said, he put up a better effort than was in the first fight. He wasn't fighting shell-shocked or anything like that. But like I said, it was just styles. Styles make fights, and his style will never beat a LSC style. So, I mean, hopefully, he'll get back in the mix. Give him one tune-up fight, and then let's go. Then go back at it. Find another top contender. So, but those are my thoughts on the fights from yesterday. Like I said, it was a good weekend of boxing. It wasn't great, but it was good. It was entertaining. So I have no complaints there really. So till next time, peace.